how important is USC football in the grand scheme of things? Because I think it's the center of the universe in Los Angeles, in California, on the West Coast, west of the Mississippi River. I think USC is incredibly important to college football. And I think it is the only program of note in the Pac-12. And I know that Ute fans, we get it. You're angry already. There's a flow chart about how to hate BYU. We totally get it. But you can't tell me, and I don't know if you can make a compelling argument, Jake, that USC is not the center of the college football world.
Yeah, so I think USC is really interesting. So number one, because they're in LA, yeah, that's gonna earn them a lot of attention and a lot of hype. And I think the thing that's always been fascinating about USC ever since, they got all the sanctions and everything against them is they haven't been good. That's the thing. The product on the field has not really been that good. But there's this whole dynamic at play, much like the Lakers. Even when the Lakers suck, they're still the Lakers, so you're going to watch, right? It's the same thing with USC. And I think that the problem is the Pac-12 is in such a just such a bad position right now. They're in such an average, mediocre, going the wrong direction position that it would be nice if USC was good. And I think that, at a certain point for any college football program, you have to say, enough is enough, and we need a change of voice. We need a change in leadership in our program. And I think that's what finally happened, with USC and Clay Helton. And I think that it's a good thing. And I do think that, USC is a program that, really needs to be quality. It would be nice to see USC in the college football playoff. It would be nice to see USC competing to win the Pac-12 championship, 4 out of every 5 seasons. That would be nice. I almost feel like, I kind of have trouble saying this, but I almost feel like a lot of people would expect USC to do that, even though they're not very good. That's the thing. So to me, how important are they? Yeah, they are important. But the fact is, nationally, in terms of a college football playoff, I feel like they're almost irrelevant from that perspective because they have not been competing. So they are important, but I'm not going to sit here and say that when I look at, the top 25 or when I look at, who are the favorites to make the college football playoff this year, I'd be lying if I said that I would expect USC to be there because right now I just don't. And I think that is ultimately why Clay Helton got fired yesterday.
Yeah, and I think justifiably so. I mean, it was the right move, but after week 2, that's the thing that stands out to me with the USC decision. It's not that you fired Clay Helton. Like, I don't even know, frankly, I don't even know that most people have an issue with firing Clay Helton. I think most people have an issue with the fact of the timing. Mm-hmm. I think it is one of those things where you have so many questions and issues that firing your coach after week 2 probably does not fix any of them. It likely limits your candidate pool because are we really making the plan to go the entire season with an interim head coach so that you can hire the best available candidate in the offseason? Is that what we're really thinking we're going to do? That doesn't make a lot of sense because then you give away an entire year of recruiting. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you say if you're a kid that's playing at Inglewood High, if you're a kid that's playing in Texas, Florida, or anywhere else that's a top recruit who usually USC would be calling, what do you say to that kid now? Because it doesn't seem like this is a great time to go play football at USC. So it just seems like the timing of all of this is very odd. And frankly, with where USC is now, I think you could do a heck of a lot worse than letting Clay Helton finish the season. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of that, but it just, Jake, feels awkward to me that they fired him after week 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 ways you should have handled it. Hey, fire his ass in the offseason and go and find a replacement and head into the season with the new car smell, as I like to call it, right? We got a new head coach. We got a new coaching staff. We've got all these great things happening in the program. Everything's hunky-dory, right? Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, well then you need to be committed to your head coach for the duration of the season. I don't believe in firing head coaches in the middle of the year, unless it's just like I'm talking about 0-8, 0-9, 0-10, like just pathetic performance after pathetic performance. If it gets to that level, okay, at that point you're left with no choice. But to me, the USC in that situation is a reflection of the Pac-12 as a whole. The Pac-12 does not have leadership. The Pac-12 does not know how to run a successful conference. And so when I look at USC, I say, hey, even in the Pete Carroll, Reggie Bush days, think about it. In that time in college football, every program in the country is taking calculated risk after calculated risk in recruiting. What do we have to do to get the best talent? And if we have to do things that are breaking the rules, we're going to go ahead and do that. The question just simply is how are we going to hide it or how are we going to keep it under the radar? So let's not be surprised that USC, somehow is in, some choppy water right now. They've always been in choppy water. The difference then versus now is they were kicking the hell out of every team in the country. So it was this awesome thing. Hey, it's LA. Hey, we're taking a Pac-12 or at that time a Pac-10 team, and we're throwing them on the East Coast to go and kick someone's ass. That's when USC was great. Now the problem is the Pac-12 isn't good, and now USC's not good. So what are you left with? You're left with just chaos, and that to me is the bigger issue here. How do you fix USC? Get a streaming deal in the Pac-12 from a conference. You can recruit better, right? How do you get a better head coach? Offer better perks. It's pretty simple to me. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I guess here's the other question. Like, what caliber of candidate should USC expect to get here? Because, again, I mean, the Urban Meyer situation is very interesting. And if you don't know this story, Urban Meyer apparently has already alienated everybody, including his fellow assistant coaches, and just about every player on the 53 in Jacksonville. There is said to be significant unrest there, but again, isn't that who Urban Meyer is? Like, that's who this guy's always been. But is Urban Meyer really a candidate right now today on September 14th to replace Clay Helton at SC? That does not seem likely to me. I look at a lot of the other names like Luke Fickell. I say to myself, okay, well, listen, I understand Luke Fickell's a guy that has a history with the AD at USC who came from Cincinnati. But are you telling me that Luke Fickell got Cincinnati into the Big 12 because single-handedly he did that with this football program? They played in the Sugar Bowl, and they damn near won it. They're ranked 8th in the country, headed to the Big 12, and Luke Fickell's just going to walk away from that now?
That's his baby, man.
But that doesn't – the timing of that does not seem right. You just got Cincinnati to the heights it's never been at. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to walk away? I can't – I don't care who they AD at USC is. That does not make any sense whatsoever. In looking at his record, I mean, Fickell's done just about everything that you could have hoped for him to do. But it just doesn't seem like – I mean, the balls it would take to walk away from Cincinnati now?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. So now you start looking at the other coaches. Okay, well, I say to myself, what about Cristobal at Oregon? Well, he just went to the shoe and won, but why hasn't Oregon extended him yet? I mean, the guy doesn't have a contract extension.
And by the way, really quick on Cristobal, wouldn't it have made sense for USC? Because it's not like, again, and I don't mean to be so negative on USC, but if we're just being honest, it's not like over the past, 3 to 5 seasons that Clay Helton's been there, it's not like they've been some powerhouse or anything. It's not like they...
No, they have sputtered for years now.
Right. So, this conversation about Clay Helton's been going on. And so my point up in Oregon is hey, if he is somebody you've been targeting, you've been looking... this job and this conversation should have been happening for a little while now. And this is what I mean by, hey, they're not handling these things in the proper way. You don't just go and fire your head coach without there being any kind of backup plan.
But you have an incredibly aggressive new regime, if you will, at SC and in the Pac-12. And I think what you had in Clay Helton, or I know, is that, I talked to 2 people in the Pac-12 yesterday who straight up said Clay Helton's only the head coach before he got fired. He was only still the head coach at USC because of the pandemic, because of the impact that COVID had on the game of college football last year, because most people thought he was gone. And I think it would have been the right decision and nobody would have questioned that. But he was told going into this season, this is it, man. You've got to have an impressive season. You have got to get to a significant bowl game, and you have got to take this program to a new level.
Yeah.
As soon as they lost to Stanford, that was impossible to do. And I think that's why he got fired yesterday. I don't agree with it because I don't see a way out of this. But as far as Mario Cristobal goes, he's not going to leave Oregon to go to USC. Mm-hmm. See what I mean? Like, usually in college football, A plus B equals he's not leaving Oregon. Like Fickle's not leaving Cincinnati to take this job. Urban Meyer, it's the wrong timing for him to leave Jacksonville to come to SC. And so when you start looking at other names, one of the most prominent names that you are hearing is Kyle Whittingham at Utah. He is one of the most respected coaches in college football. He is a guy who, inarguably now, has had tremendous success building the University of Utah Ute football program from not a Pac-12 team into a Pac-12 team that's a national powerhouse. Because they recruit, they can beat any team, unless you're BYU this year, and they lose that game. It just seems like now would not be awkward timing for Kyle Whittingham to leave Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're coming off of the BYU loss. You're figuring out what's next for the program, and I think the hard thing, or what stands out to me about a lot of these names that we're talking about is legacy, right? Like with Cristobal up in Oregon, there's a lot of legacy there. He's done a lot of great things in that program. You look at Witt. I mean, again, I know on this show I referenced 2019 so much, but that may have been his best season, like, to date. I mean, they were there. They were one game away from not only winning the Pac-12 but going to the college football playoff. I mean, this guy has built this thing from scratch, and that's why over in Cincinnati, I'm like, dude, you're not leaving that. You've built that thing from nothing, and it got you into a P5. You're not leaving that. And so to me, it puts USC in this very tough situation because, again, if you've been listening this whole time, the overreaching question here is USC a grade A must-have, must-say yes to job? And I'm telling you, right now it's not. And I don't know. I think there's a lot that goes in to changing that, which is why I say I don't think that's going to change overnight.
So you wouldn't value USC as a number one job in the Pac-12?
I think it depends who you are. Just on a surface level, like let's take the names out of it. Yeah, I think USC is the poster child of the Pac-12.
There's no doubt that they are the flagship program of Pac-12 football.
But does that make it a good job for
Absolutely.
someone like Witt or any of these
Absolutely.
names?
Kyle Whittingham is the whip-cracking ass kicker that USC football needs. Mm-hmm. The days of Pat Hayden and Steve Sarkisian being drunk at an alumni event or a booster event and firing Lane Kiffin on the tarp, like that's over.
That's what I'm talking about, though.
That's over.
Right?
But it's a new day at SC.
Yeah.
And when you have the administration in place, and again, I'm not telling you that the timeline is great. I'm not. And I think, what they've done at SC, the timing's questionable. Mm-hmm. But if SC is smart now, they're going to go the entire season with an interim head coach. Does that mean that you've kind of written this season off? I would guess so. But Kyle Whittingham's not leaving that job. He's not leaving Utah today. I could see him going to SC after this season. It's been a decade, and it's been a struggle. He's not always had the support of when it was Chris Hill. He's not always had, this has been a battle. But he's lost his father. This has been a process for Kyle Whittingham. He has fought, and he's fought hard, and he's built something special. But I could see him being open to a new opportunity. He is no different than Bronco Mendenhall needing a change from BYU.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be stunned if Kyle Whittingham left Utah to go to USC. It is one of the premier jobs in the country. And I think when you allow a guy like Kyle Whittingham to go in there and instill his system and instill his staff and recruit at that level on the offensive and defensive lines, can you imagine Kyle Whittingham with the best defensive talent in the country?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he'll have. If he goes to USC, he will recruit the best defensive talent in the country. They will be, I think, by far, with Kyle Whittingham, that'd be a home run hire, and I think they would be the best team in the Pac-12 for a decade.
Well, and taking USC back to greatness is obviously something that is, you can't tell me that wouldn't be, great for anybody's coaching career, right? I mean, being the guy that took USC from just mediocrity for 5, maybe even 7 seasons or so now, and taking them to, I guess, the college football playoff. I mean, certainly winning the Pac-12, yes, but I think, by USC standards, the college football playoff would be what you're shooting for. So
yeah, and I think when you're talking about the available pool of coaches, I don't think there's a whole lot of names. I mean, James Franklin, the name that always gets thrown around when any major job opens, but there's a reason that guy's not getting hired. There's something there. He is a bit controversial, but I mean, there's something there. Chris Peterson I think was the number one choice at USC. He again said that he is not ready to coach right now today. I think he is going to be, in my personal opinion, I think Chris Peterson either coaches in 2022 or he's retired for good, because he is not a guy, and it depends on the reports you listen to. But, there were reports yesterday that he was, champing at the bit to get back into college football. And then, yesterday afternoon, we heard that Chris Peterson told USC, hey, I'm not interested. I'm not ready to coach yet. I just don't think that there is a very big pool of coaches that USC is going to be able to hire from, because you need a home run.
Yeah.
No more risks, no more sensationalism. You need the right guy at USC, and you need him right now. And that's why I think it's not going to be Cristobal from Oregon. The Fickle thing, he'd be a great hire. He's not leaving Cincinnati. I think it makes a lot of sense that you would go and get a guy like Kyle Whittingham. He knows the conference. He knows the territory. I think A plus B equals Kyle Whittingham's a great name. Bob Stoops, TV analyst. I think Bob Stoops is another guy that people think could be a home run there, but Bob Stoops has been out of the game for how long?
Yeah, and that seems kind of like a gimmick hire, right? Like Bob Stoops is a name, but he's not actually the guy that would.
I think he is like Bill Cowher in the NFL. If he says yes, you're hiring him. But the longer that you hear his name without him saying no, the more you start to think, well, yeah, hey, maybe Bob Stoops is open to the SC job. It doesn't seem like that'd be a great fit. I mean, again, this is a guy that's made his name in Oklahoma. Is he really going to go to USC in the Pac-12 and be that West Coast guy? I don't know.
And he's got the cushy TV gig.
I'd hire him.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely hire him. Bob Stoops is a stud. He's a great human being. He's a good maker of men. I would hire him at USC. I just don't know where else you go. I truly, when looking at this list, I just go down this list and I say, yeah, you're not hiring an assistant coach. You're not hiring the best assistant in the country. I need a guy that's a proven recruiter and a winner. Yeah. I need a guy that's not going to have recruiting violations. So, no, I'm not hiring Gus Malzahn. No, I'm not going to, who are you going to look at here?
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a great point. It's not a deep pool, and you're right. You can't take a risk on someone like Gus because of your past recruiting issues. That's a great point.
You can't. So I think there are two names that make sense to me. I think Matt Campbell at Iowa State makes a hell of a lot of sense. That guy makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I think Kyle Whittingham at USC, because if you hire Kyle Whittingham, the questions stop instantly. I mean, he just does it the right way every single day.
Yeah, he has massive credibility.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm undervaluing the SC job. Maybe I'm overvaluing it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I guess
I just don't see that there's 100 coaches that you can turn to.
I think USC's biggest problem is there's questions about the leadership at the program. That's the question, like the upper end leadership. I'm not talking about the coaching staff. I'm talking about the AD and how that business is handled at that level. That to me, if I'm Kyle Whittingham or any of these names that we've just discussed, I'm taking a real hard look at like, okay, what went into the decision to fire Clay in week 2? Because if you're sitting in Clay's shoes, you're like, okay, what happens when I lose 3 in a row and one of those was a bad loss? Are you going to fire me right on the spot like that? I'd have some questions about that. I'd have some questions about, just the overall scope. What is the expectation at USC? I think that is a very pertinent and valid question right now. Because if your standard was to be the best, Clay Helton would have been fired 3-4 seasons ago, but he wasn't. And
well,
that
that's true.
to me, I'm left wondering, okay, when we talk about this pool, and I think you make a great point, the pool is not deep, but I think the depth of your hiring pool is attached to your expectations and what exactly you think you need in your next head coach. I agree. They shouldn't take risk. I agree. They should go and try and get the best. But is that really where the leadership at USC is right now? Because their actions say they're just trying to make some money and they're just trying to be consistent. That's what the actions say. But I really do honestly hope that with this next guy, I hope that they're trying to hire the best and they're trying to change the narrative about their program because I don't think it's good right now.
I think the only other name that makes a lot of sense is Bill O'Brien. And I think, after getting whacked in Houston, he goes and works with Alabama, under Nick Saban. I mean, he would seem like a guy that would be a good fit. But honestly, if you're SC, why are you not? I just think it's Kyle Whittingham. The more and more I've thought about this, and I laughed at it yesterday, but the more and more I've thought about this, Kyle Whittingham would be an incredible candidate.
Yeah, it'd be a great hire.
I mean, I think that he would be a great hire. And the only question is Kyle Whittingham the guy that jumps out of the pot to get into the fire? Because that's what USC is. I mean, with all of the struggles that USC has had, are you willing to write off, well, it was Pat Hayden. Pat's a TV guy. He's not really an administrator. Are you willing to write off, well, Steve Sarkisian is an addict. That's really not USC. Are you willing to write off all of the nonsense that's gone on at USC for the last 10 years?
That's what I'm saying. You have to question that.
Are you willing to go to LA and compete with Chip Kelly? Are you willing to go to LA and compete with, frankly, a fan base at USC that is delusional, that thinks that they're going to win a national championship every single snap? Because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know. I know that USC would hire him. I don't know that Witt would make himself available.
Agreed.
That's
100% agreed.
That's the biggest question. But, you look at some of these other names like PJ Fleck at Minnesota. I think people get excited about him. And again, Chris Peterson would be a great hire. But I was tweeting about this yesterday. I just don't think he's ready yet. And I also wonder, how much pressure is Washington putting on Chris Peterson to make a return? They're in fucking trouble. Like Washington, and you can back me up about this. And I know that this is going to be crazy. And the minute that Chris Peterson walked away from there, even go back further than that, when they hired Jimmy Lake and bumped Pete Kwiatkowski out of being their defensive coordinator, we talked on this show, and this was several years ago.
Yeah.
But we talked about how that's a mistake. Like, why are you hiring Jimmy Lake that way at that time? I don't know how much Chris Peterson would want a reunion with Washington. I'm 99% sure Chris Peterson's going to coach in 2022. I just don't know that he's going to take the SC job today. And I don't know that he's the guy that wants to hop right back in today.
See, and that's what I mean, right? Like, a guy like Chris Peterson, high quality individual, no question about it. Would be a great hire.
Yeah.
But anytime, like guys who are like taking time off or who are like kind of like sort of retired but not retired, like kind of in that gray area, to get them to come out of that comfort zone, because that's the honest truth. It's comfy. The guy's got gazillions of dollars. He didn't have to do a damn thing. He's comfy.
Oh, but guys like Chris Peterson need to coach.
Right. And so my point is, if you're USC, you know that. And if he's saying no to you, what does that say to you about your program and how people view it? And that's their biggest challenge.
Oh, I think there's the USC is tarnished right now. That's that 68 El Camino that's got like that damage on the front quarter panel. And right now, they're going to have to put some Bondo on that. They're going to have to find some of that ugly ass red, orange stuff to rub in there, and
you got to make it pretty again. You're gonna have to, listen. This program needs somebody to come in who is unquestioned and proven, and that's why Kyle Whittingham is a great name. However, I think that actually hiring somebody of Kyle Whittingham's stature and level and experience and skill, I think is going to be tough because of the leadership. It's not a USC brand issue. It is what are your guys' expectations? Because you're not turning USC into a college football playoff contender overnight, over one season. That's not going to happen. The next guy needs, it's like what Chip Kelly did at UCLA, right? And again, I'm the guy who said, hey, that's 1 week, that's one win, like, let's give it some time. But there's this narrative going around about Chip Kelly that he and UCLA worked out a deal where they were both on the same page about the fact that this was going to take a couple years, that this was going to take a couple brutal seasons where you're like a 2-win, 3-win, 5-win team, and then at some point, once you get through all the garbage recruiting that went on in the program, and Chip Kelly brings in all his talent that he wants to recruit, now the program's going to start to get better. And so now you're starting to see a win against, LSU. Hopefully you start to see more wins.
Look, Mike Bond's a really good athletic director. He's proven that. So I think you're going to see good direction in this program and in this hire. I just think it's going to take time because you made a really, this is either going to be known as one of the guttiest decisions ever to fire a good human being that is universally revered in Clay Helton. He is a very good person. Clay Helton is a very nice man, which usually means you're not a great football coach. And I think when you look at the decision to fire Clay Helton after losing to Stanford in 2021, what an idiot. That was a disaster. Or, hey, man, that was a gutty move, and it wound up that you got Stoops, Whittingham, Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't go down the middle. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter, but I mean, this is never going to be Kiffin fired on the tarmac. But
it's always going to be legendary.
Right? You're always.
That is so USC, bro.
But my point is that this has an opportunity to be a flippin' disaster. And you better hit a home run. That's why I said, I don't think you're going out and you're hiring somebody's assistant offensive coordinator's brother. Yeah, you're like, my brother's an offensive coordinator in Pop Warner, but his special teams coach is available. Like, you're not hiring that guy. You need somebody that's got a sack on him, and my God.
Yeah.
Look who they hired.
Yep.
That's what you need. And by the way, I also think that's why Urban Meyer's not going to get that job. Because I think Urban Meyer's, anyway. All right, let's get the comment section, which I'm sure is lit. It is. Let's see. Monty was 100% right about the Ravens and Raiders. Listen, Ace.
I picked the Raiders for that game, by the way.
Screw you. Don't sit
here. Did you see the league? I picked the Raiders.
What are you talking about?
In the Pick'em League.
Oh, I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I'm sure I had a terrible week. But anyway, the point is, I'm telling you, listen, I'm perfect. I don't make mistakes. I'm good looking, and I'm a sex machine. Like, what else do you want from me?
Yeah.
No, I did tell you to take the Raiders. David Floyd says, BYU stomp a mud hole in ASU. Sign Texas Tech fan. All right, thanks for weighing in. He also says, can USC even fill their stadium at 50%? They can. They can. Not right now, because Clay Helton's a nice guy. Brylark says, Shamir's in... Whoa. comment dump. Breilerk says, boy, how far USC has fallen. The Bush Leinart days were filled stadiums and national attention all day, every day. USC still gets national attention. The problem is they're not winning games. They do. They're on, watch game day. Watch SC highlights on SportsCenter. Shocking upset. USC loses to Stanford.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and again, maybe I overvalue SC.
Yeah.
The USC football program is still one of the biggest brands in college football.
Yeah.
And now it's because they're losing. When they go and hit a home run, because they're going to hit a home run. When they hit a home run, they'll be one of the top programs in football again.
Yeah.
Greg Hawkins says, damn, too bad. I was hoping Clay Helton would be named head coach for life down at SC. Weren't we all?
I want it.
Because don't mistake my respect of SC for anything other than screw SC, because I'm a Notre Dame fan. One of my good friends, Chad Hagobian, who is fight on, I'm a douche. No, I'm kidding. He likes hot dogs.
Carnies.
I like carnies too. But he's an SC fan, so, he loses credibility.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly right. BYU fan CJ says, no, Kalani isn't headed to USC. He is LE 2.0. Okay, let's relax.
Yeah, Kalani's not going anywhere.
Nobody said Kalani's going to SC, but let's relax with the Lavelle Edwards 2.0. Relax. Neville93 says, good morning, my favorite guys. What's up, Neville? Good to see you. Sean Mirzinski. Helton was given so many opportunities to succeed. Since he couldn't, they had no choice. I absolutely do not want Urban Meyer too much baggage. Exactly. He says, what about the former Washington coach? I can't remember his name, Chris Peterson.
Yeah.
Greg Hawkins says, Kyle honestly looks like he's ready to retire. Kyle Whittingham is 65 years old, but he's 65 going on like 38. I mean, the guy still bench presses a house. Listen, I think Kyle Whittingham has the energy. It's a matter of does he have the want to. Because I'm telling you, if Kyle Whittingham even farts in USC's direction, they would hire him. They'd be foolish not to, and I think they know that. Josh Lovren says, Cristobal issue at Oregon are covered by Nike money. Cristobal as a head coach is 54 and 57, but he's a 6-foot blonde with a huge rack right now. He just beat Ohio State. He isn't under an extension. Mario Cristobal is an attractive head coach. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I think, A, he's not going to USC. B, I'd be shocked if they didn't extend him. Oregon's another one. Has Oregon replaced Chip Kelly yet?
No.
Right? I mean, they haven't.
No.
You better figure it out, because Oregon is another one of those teams that is just wasting time.
But this is my point. This whole thing with Pac-12 programs needing new head coaches, this is a vicious cycle. This isn't just about the program, right? This is about I know we always bring this up, and I don't mean to, be repetitive, but this is where the streaming deal and the lack of money in the conference, and then that hurts recruiting, and then hurts the head coach's ability to win football games because he doesn't have talent, and it's just this recurring thing. So you brought up the question: are you overvaluing the USC job? I don't think you're overvaluing USC. I think it's a very strong brand. I think you ask someone, well, who's the best team out west? Oh, it's USC. Everybody knows USC. What I'm simply saying is USC is not in a position to succeed right now, and that's partially a head coach thing. But I think again, it more so than that, it is a Pac-12 issue. I think recruiting in the Pac-12 is very difficult, man. It is so hard.
Well, let me use the word that I used yesterday: the culture. There's a culture problem at SC, and the one thing I will say about USC fans is they don't take losing to UCLA kindly. And UCLA is the best team in the Pac-12 right now. And I think that that's part of what played into Clay Helton getting fired today. And when you have the administration, when you have Bond come out and say, hey, it's not good enough, we win national championships at USC.
Yeah.
Now the bar's been set very high. So, you know what? I think Kyle Whittingham's a guy that right now probably – the fire's a little dim. You put that guy in garnet and gold and tell me that Tell me that Kyle Whittingham, throwing up 2 fingers for fight on doesn't rekindle that fire.
Let me ask you this. What, right now here today, what does the USC program offer him that the Utah program doesn't offer him?
A shot at a national championship in the next 3 years.
See, I disagree. They've been on the doorstep of the college football playoff. He can get to the national championship right now.
But I don't know that he can at Utah. And here's why I say, and we talked about this with the BYU thing, and I know this is going to piss off Utah fans. Until you have enough talent and until you recruit well enough that you have dominant. What did we learn about in the BYU loss? Utah is struggling on the offensive line. They don't have talent on the outside at wide receiver. And that's really impacting their ability to throw the ball. They finally went out and got a gunslinger at quarterback who can throw the ball, who's mobile, who's everything you want in a quarterback, and I just don't know that they have the wide receiver talent to take advantage of that. Well, if you're at USC, you're always going to have access to the 10 best quarterbacks in the country. It's California, and every California kid wants to play at SC, right? By the way, if Kyle Whittingham walks in your living room and hands you a bag of USC swag and says, let's go, you're going. Your mom is going to love Kyle Whittingham. He's going to recruit. Your mom's going to like him more than she likes Chip Kelly because Kyle Whittingham's calves are unbelievably sexy. The guy is gravitational. The guy makes men. If you're wondering what kind of man your kid's going to be when he graduates, again, modern day high school, you're going to send him to Kyle Whittingham, and Kyle Whittingham's going to hold him accountable. He's going to get a degree, and he's probably going to play in the NFL. Oh, by the way, Utah's an NFL factory for DBs and defensive linemen. What do you think he would do at USC? Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Kyle Whittingham, the minute that Kyle Whittingham if he were ever to take the USC job, inside of 3 years, they're playing for a national championship. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, he's the X's and O's of Kyle Whittingham. The recruiting, that the mountain that he has to climb just to get in the conversation with a 5-star recruit. Hey, come to Utah, play at altitude, be on the Pac-12 network. It's a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Right? When you go to SC, you're on national TV because you're either going to be on ESPN or ABC because you're USC. You're going to play in a lot of big games. You're going to have a really good head coach. You're going to get an education. You're probably going to play in the NFL. Hell yeah. You think Kyle Whittingham doesn't walk into every recruit's? If he goes to USC, Kyle Whittingham walks into your living room and says, hey, by the way, you ever heard of Starlo Tulele? Hey, by the way, look at this laundry list of guys. Do you watch the New Orleans Saints? That's secondary. Hey, are you serious? Mm-hmm. Like he would. What are we even talking about, man? Like this is a guy who puts dudes. With all due respect, he put Cody Barton in the NFL. Right? I mean, hello, like Kyle Whittingham at USC. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer. That all of the issues he has at Utah instantly go away.
Right.
Anyway, please. Kyle Whittingham at Utah, forget it. Or at USC, forget it. Let's see. Greg Hawkins says, I believe they'll go after Whittingham and Stoops. I also believe Witt and Stoops won't go there. I think Kyle Whittingham would one more ride. Absolutely, I think he would go there. Josh Lovren says, Ed Ogeron. Oh, come on.
No.
Josh, be better than that. Josh also says, if you were UW, would you talk to Peterson to be your head coach again before he possibly would take the SC job? Jimmy Lake's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
They're just not ready to compete. I mean, when's the last time you saw a Washington team look like this? I mean,
not since you can remember because Chris Peterson did such a good job.
Well, but again, that's a team that where's their Ben Burkervin? Where's their badass defense that's going to hurt you? Where's their defense breaking your will? I mean,
Not there.
it's not there. And with all due respect to Jimmy Lake, I just think that whole thing was handled poorly. That's just me. I just think the whole thing was handled poorly.
Yeah.
Real quick, because we also got to get to this thing at Washington State. Daryl Adams says, how old is Witt? I think he's 65. Lovren says, Bill O'Brien or Cliff Kingsbury at USC. Cliff Kingsbury's another guy whose name came up.
That's a risk.
That's a risk. And I just don't think Bill O'Brien's not really a risk. Cliff Kingsbury's a huge risk. I don't it's guys, it's USC.
Telling you.
You can do better with all due respect to Cliffy.
It's not good enough anymore.
It is.
I disagree.
Though. Okay.
I don't think that hey, it's USC is what does that even mean anymore? Yeah, they have a good brand, but they're not well run. They're a mess.
But they are, though. This is when you have one of the better athletic directors in the country right now, and you have a university that said, here you go, here's the keys to the athletic department. Go run your athletic department. Tell us what you need. Mm-hmm. Right? Let's also not forget, the Pac-12 TV deal's up. They need SC to be good. They need UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Utah. They need the Arizona schools to stop screwing around and be good.